Hey, what's up, guys?
What was your surround sound?
You've got to invite me down there so I can have I don't know, what would you call that? That's like a kid going to
Guys, let me know how the audio is.
I got so much stuff you can't walk my house.
No?
I don't see that we're live.
But then where you live in a brownstone or a house or what?
Nah.
Shane, come here for a second. Just get me. There we go. All right, guys. How we doing? No, you're good. You're good. You're good. You're good. All right, guys. Guys, let me know how the audio is. Sounds good. All right, guys. How we doing? All right. Get that whisper voice going.
Actually, he's got them. He's got my new ones.
Thank you guys for being so patient. So we are in Value Electronics. Hey, Tempo. Tristan. Sorry, guys, I ran late. We're having an issue with the HDMI splitters. This is my first live stream of the year. We're going to give a little time to see if we can get some more people in the chat. We got about 29 in here now. What you're seeing is a Sony X92J on the right at 100 inches. Shane, pop off that light for 1 second. And then you're seeing the Samsung QN90A at 98 inches on the left. Now, when I run the demo material, I'll shut these both off. And we'll introduce Robert and Dewayne in a few minutes. But we'll give the chat a little bit of time to populate. So this is a spare change production. So don't get too used to Shane's camera, because this is not my camera, but my producer, Spare Change, forgot his microphones, so I have only one. So I'll be doing some more pass the mic. So we are going to have on tonight, we have Robert Zohn. We're going to have also Dewayne Davis. And both have been calibrated. Actually, maybe I'll turn this light off. Hold on 1 second. There we go. That's better. So we're just going to let these run on HDR for a few minutes, wait for some more people to jump in. We got 37 watching. Hope all you guys are doing great. I know Shane forgot the mic. He is, this is Spare Change. So I got Dewayne Davis off camera laughing at me because Shane is supposed to be doing. Where is your, oh, there we go. So we have the Spears and Munsell demo disc on loop. Panasonic 9000 is running it. Again, we are in Scarsdale, New York. Robert Zohn, Value Electronics. You guys know Robert. And using the Spears and Munsell demo material. Now, I was here earlier with both of these panels, spent hours with both of them, but I have not seen them without calibration. Dewayne Davis had calibrated them, and we have them now calibrated. See how beautiful they both look. We have mini LED IPS panel from the Samsung, and we have a full array local dimming VA panel from the Sony. So I'm just going to move the camera around a little bit. See X92J. Now I'm going to have Shane step into the frame so I can see the context for size difference. Shane is a bigger guy. That is 100 inches right there. And then as we go over to the 98 inch, now the 98 inch is on.
What movie is this from?
Yeah. So, all right. So, all right, we got about 45 people in. I think we'll do our introductions now. I want to pop on the lights quickly. Bring that chair in for me. Getting into the frame is a good friend, Robert Zohn.
Hello, everybody.
Owner and founder of Value Electronics. I'll be passing the mic around, and then let's get Dewayne's chair over a little bit. We have renowned calibrator Dewayne DNICE Davis.
Whatever you think is fine.
And again, owner and founder, Robert Zohn of Value Electronics, and we have Wendy off camera. I will get her to jump in at some point. All right, gentlemen, welcome tonight. Thank you for joining me. Again, our producer, Spare Change, who is an AV expert, did not bring the microphones, so I will be doing the pass the mic. So just any comments in regards to Shane, just put them in the comments, please. All right, guys. Okay, gentlemen. Now, quickly in the chat, what do you guys think of these two panels? You can see that Dewayne and Robert are over 6 feet tall, and these panels are dwarfing them. So the reason I want to do this video in person is to show you guys the proper context of what a 198-inch consumer-grade panel actually looks like. Cannot show that without someone sitting in front of it. I mean, Dewayne, it's just this thing, it's like you're outside a window. Robert, they look amazing. So, Robert, what I'm going to do quickly is I'm going to hand Robert the mic. Can't believe you forgot the microphones. That's for you, Robert. Actually, no, here, I'm going to do this and pass it back to you. And I'm going to have both you guys answer this. I want to talk a little bit about the importance of calibration in general. I think we can get very technical, but I want to know from you guys, both of your point of view, the importance of calibration for not just Samsung or Sony or LG. That's what I want to know, and the value it actually provides. And then, Robert, you can also break down the value that Value Electronics actually offers and what you do with your QC and calibration. So, Robert, I'll have you go first, and we'll just talk quickly about the calibration. Obviously, Dewayne is calibrating these days. Let me know how that package works with any display that they purchase from Value Electronics.
Thank you very much, Brian, and thank you everybody for joining with us today. So calibration will set the television properly to the right colors in color accuracy, also called fidelity. It'll also set up the color saturation to be proper. Most importantly, it'll also take care of the contrast, the minimum and peak luminance, to be as bright as the TV can be with no clipping of specular highlights, to be as dark as a TV could be, but show you all the detail of the shadows. So if you watch football and you know the color of the jerseys and you want the TV to match it, you get your TV calibrated. If you want flesh tones to look right, you get your TV calibrated. So it depends upon what level of enthusiasm you have for this craft, I would say. Our calibration process also includes a full quality control. So we go through the panels to select a good, better than average sample. So you're ensured of getting a very good sample. And then we do a proper break-in to stabilize the TV so it won't drift quickly out of calibration once we do set it up properly. And then because we are Value Electronics and we try to do everything the best, we brought in Dewayne Davis, the well-respected calibrator. Thank you.
So I personally want to introduce Dewayne, not me. Dewayne is over there. Hello. Dewayne is over there. Turn it to Dewayne. So I want to take this opportunity to introduce Dewayne because I had heard of Dewayne way before I had ever done YouTube. And when I first got my first 1080p display, someone was always saying, get DNICE settings, get DNICE settings. And then and I kind of geeked out. We did a shootout with the CX here, Value Electronics. And we did the AAH, and then DNICE was on the phone, and I geeked out and I spoke to him. So it is a pleasure to be with Dewayne here. And I do want to get from Dewayne, because settings and calibration, a lot of YouTube talk of amateur calibrators. To have one of the best out here right now is a pleasure. Introducing Dewayne Davis. Dewayne, give me a little bit about you, calibration, and how you perceive the importance of what real calibration means for any panel.
Yeah, so I've been calibrating for a while. At this point, 15 plus years. Yeah, well, professionally about 15 years. So the importance of calibration is essentially, in simplest terms, I just use this analogy. You and your significant other, or just you, go out and buy a house. You got to go to a design center where you pick out your flooring, your wall colors, all this and that. If you guys pick out all of those colors, the flooring and everything, and then you come to closing and you go through your final walkthrough and you see that what you picked out is not exactly what you picked out. It's more tinted one way or the other, would you accept that actual house and go through with closing? Same thing with calibration. Calibration is designed to allow your display to see the actual video as close as possible to what the content creators wanted you to see. It's artwork. So if you appreciate art, you value what the content creators want you to see as far as colors and actually mood of the actual video itself, calibration is the way to go. If you want to create your own art and you don't care, calibration is not for you.
Love that. Dewayne, thank you so much. Again, amateur hour since my boy forgot his microphones, so we will stand. You want to man the camera, my friend? Let's get us back on task here. All right, we're going to move back. And Robert, I know for us and Shane, all working in collaboration, this is actually our first kickoff for the 2022 year. And the way this format is, the way we have these TVs set up, the plan for us is to do basically mini shootouts all year long. C1, G1, or C2, G2, QD-OLEDs, ZX2. So it's going to be a very busy year. We're going to look forward to bringing you guys a lot of great content. And zoom this back out, bro, so we can get them looking the other way. There we go. All right. So firstly, Robert, I want you to discuss the two different panels we have here, the different technologies. We have the Sony X92J and the Samsung QN90A. Let me know technology-wise what you guys have seen from them, just being with them.
Very good. Thank you again, Brian. So to my right and everybody else's left is the Samsung 98-inch QN90A. That's a mini LED panel. So thousands of local dimming zones and tens of thousands of LED is behind there as well. And it is a 2021 model. I'm pretty sure this will carry over to 2022 as well. This is 98 inches measured diagonally, and it's a very bright and very, very nice and accurate television. To my left and everybody else's right is Sony's brand new 100-inch X92. This is a full array local dimmed with Sony's very well-respected XR processor, the new XR processor. So what we're seeing is a mini LED QN90A against a full array local dimmed 100-inch. They're both basically the same size. And differences would be the processing and the type of backlight that the panel operates with. Anything you want to add to that?
We're also saying IPS versus VA.
No,
No.
these are both VAs. Go ahead.
These are both VAs.
That's a print.
Yeah, well, yeah, because in the Samsungs, from what I understand, is you can get either VA or ADR panel between 55 and 75. 85 is all VA and 98 is all VA.
And I was definitely under the impression of that, but then Samsung needs to change that on their actual literature.
Do they say IP?
It's in as IPS, yeah. Which I'm glad it's an error, because there's nothing about the image on the Samsung that looks IPS to me at all.
Nice and VA looking.
So even just for, we are filming off angle on the Sony. It is full array. It doesn't have the same angles or same viewing angle as the Samsung. So when we do demo material, I'll be shutting off the lights. We'll run this demo fully, Spears and Munsell demo. Guys, I know that Samsung has been notorious for being difficult to calibrate. A lot of times in the comments, I personally like the saturation of Samsung. I'm not somebody who needs things perfectly accurate. It doesn't have to be perfectly accurate for me. But I do want to know from both of you your preferences with panels, not necessarily manufacturer, the image, the both of you like personally more so than anything calibration. What's the personal image that both of you enjoy?
Well, I enjoy the most accurate image that's most accurate to the way that it was created and mastered. So I want to get the TVs to be as accurate as they can be. So I don't really want to add extra pop, although it might have a good first impression, it's missing detail in the image. I want to see all the original content as it was created. So that's my preference, please.
Yeah, I agree. I am acclimated, of course, to a calibrated image, so I just cannot really deal with a non-calibrated image. Not to say that you can get close out of the box. You just have to choose the right video mode. Now, when it comes to these two particular displays, per the measurements and everything, out of the box, movie mode and of course Cal Night on the Samsung is very close to D65. Now, that's not indicative of all the other sizes, but I think right now they're paying a lot of attention to the QC of the 898, so it is extremely accurate out of the box. I hope they keep this up, but I don't have any faith that it's going to happen, of course.
Okay. Now, before we get into Samsung and Sony, for you guys personally, now you've been calibrating TVs how long, Dina? 15 years. Robert, you've been in the business how many years?
24 in value electronics, but this is my life career.
Yeah. So, and I'll let the both of you know, I definitely plan on interviewing both Robert and Dewayne separately. I have questions for both of them that we won't spend a lot of time, Robert's background and Dewayne's background, but I personally am happy that calibration has come to the forefront, especially what we've gone through the last few years. It's more necessary than ever. I think that value electronics, adding that as a service, having Dewayne here is very important. And the QC, to me, is one of the most important things. Many of us are very familiar with the panel lottery. And, you know, getting both of their opinions and expertise is extremely important than just a big box store and, again, running through you know, the panel lottery. So quickly, guys, with Samsung, you know, my question is, are they as difficult to calibrate as advertised? Are they a challenge? And I know, Robert, you've seen many Samsungs as well, so I'll go with both of you first.
I'll take this one first. Grayscale-wise, no. It's not really difficult to calibrate them. Color-wise, that's a whole different game. For me, the CMS control set, which is Color Management System, that's what the acronym stands for me, it's broken. It doesn't work. So in terms of color accuracy, it cannot get as accurate as it is possible because those controls are not functioning correctly. But for the 2021s, for me, they're not that difficult to calibrate. If you're speaking of a prior generation, I would probably agree, but not the 21s, not at all.
Okay. Robert?
Thank you.
You take that next for me.
Yeah.
You know, I want to go with your, they probably can't hear me, but with your experiences with Samsung over the years,
Yeah.
And what you're looking for from them this year.
Yeah. Well, all brands, this is the biggest upgrade year we've seen in many, many years. The 2021 model year was a great upgrade for video processing enhancements and panel enhancements as well. So I'm not the calibrator, so I think Dewayne's answers are the most accurate ones to follow on this. And yes, we've heard from previous calibrators as well that the prior Samsungs in particular were difficult to tune up properly. And the new ones are a little easier to work with, and that's nice. Sony has a whole different method where they're very good at the mathematics, and they'll take the SDR and they'll do all the math to exploit it out to HDR pretty accurately as well. And so everybody has a different way of doing it. LG gives you the permission to write directly to the lookup table, which is the processor inside. So you don't write to a separate file. You're writing right to the machine. So everybody's got a little different spin on how this is done. They all work in the end, though.
So they say they can hear me, so they can hear me?
Aim it towards it.
Just aim it towards me. So this is a question for both of you. Dewayne, how long have you been back here with Value Electronics now?
Do you want to go back to the beginning?
Let's go back to the beginning. Yeah. So actually, Robert and I started this whole calibration, you know, before shipment. What was it, 2009 CDO? Or 2000, or was it 2008?
I thought it was 2004, but I'm sure.
No. It was 2008 or 2009 at CDO. It was with the Pioneer Curls.
I know.
So we started it way back then. So it's been well over a decade for in-store calibration before they ship out. And it's just been great. I of course, took a leave for other business ventures for a couple of years. John came in and took over for me, which was great.
Okay, this I did not.
And yeah, and John, you know, John called me up last summer. He was like, "Hey, I'm moving."
We all were surprised by that. I remember that phone call, but okay.
Yeah, so yeah, he called me and said he's moving. He asked me, you know, hey, do I want to take over, you know, come back or whatever? So I said, sure, you know. this was kind of like my baby, so I didn't want it to go to anyone else. I trusted John with what he did, so I didn't really trust anyone else to come in and take over. So I just said, okay, I'll come back and take care of business.
Well, thank you. I'm so proud that you consider me your baby. I had not thought that before. That's really something. Okay, you heard it first here.
Speaking of the actual business, the business.
We all have love, fellas. It's all. And I'm the only one drinking at this point. I do want to know, guys, from the both of you, what has the quality been like from a lot of the panels you've seen? I know the A90J being probably the most popular panel, easiest to calibrate. I think we all know. But what is the QC as far as panels that you guys have turned away this year? Panels that you, from both manufacturers, that you have said, okay, this isn't passable.
It's a sensitive question.
It's a sensitive question, and no disrespect to any of the manufacturers. Overall, quality control is key. Between the manufacturers that Robert sells, Sony hands down is the best. When it comes to Samsung, it depends. For me, one of my biggest pet peeves, and one of the things I've seen on some of these Samsung that we rejected, was HDMI ports that won't accept an HDMI cable. Like, do you not test these things before they leave the factory? How can you not insert an HDMI cable into 3 out of the 4 ports? That doesn't fly with me.
As far as the quality test.
Yeah. For the actual screen and everything, yes, there's DSC on Samsung's. Other than that, I haven't really seen any other anomalies that truly say, hey, I'm going to reject this. When it comes to OLEDs, again, Sony's, they have their own issues dealing with what I call blended grayscale steps at the lower end of the grayscale. That causes posterization and other anomalies in Dolby Vision, HDR10 and SDR content. I made them aware of that also. When it comes to LG, it can be fairly the same as Samsung, just no rhyme or reason. For me, LG, how can you allow consecutive panels to leave the factory where the power supply has failed?
Okay, so those are some of the ones that you're saying.
Yeah, screen uniformity on LGs. Of course, we all know about the tinting. They're more prone to tinting it doesn't matter what series it is. The 65-inch models are more prone to it, but I mean, it's become more widespread and sporadic. There's no real rhyme or reason to it. It's just very, random. Yeah, their control sets are broken for calibration. They don't function correctly. So, but I mean, everyone has quality control, and again, Sony is the best.
Okay. Appreciate that. Robert, I'll have you take the mic quickly. Robert, I know that, again, calibration being super important. We lost a stream from it. That's my fault. I think the QC part, we do talk about the panel lottery a lot. That's why the YouTube channel exists. Mine does, having so many defective panels. But to me, the calibration component is very important. But the QC aspect is very important as well. Robert, please tell me, like, even before Dewayne had come back, what was your experience with, John being here? A lot of the panels I know that, you guys both focused on in regards to what you would reject and how important the QC is to you.
Very good. Well, the QC is an important element, and that we wanted to value back to add more value, so to speak, to our calibration services. So we do a full quality control. We look for stuck pixels. We look for abnormal screen uniformity, banding, tinting. We have a whole list of things that we look for. And then once we find one that passes QC, it goes into break-in. Then Dewayne does a separate quality control as well. So he gets the panels that we've passed, and then he's more scrutinizing, you might say. So there are occasional times that he will fail one that we've even passed. So the QC process is a nice assurance of getting a good sample. So you don't have to worry about getting a good sample. Please go ahead.
To add on to that, what I really look for is I look at the top end to make sure, the uniformity is great on the bright, full white screen. And I look also at the low end, make sure, you know, banding, which depending on which brand you're speaking of or technology, it can be, you know, just standard basically, but there are certain quirks and things that I can look for to make sure that's one of the better ones. But when it comes to the LCDs, it's just DSC. Some of the Samsungs I found also just needs a factory reset because when you put them in HDR mode, they only at half brightness. I don't know what that is, but factory reset fixes it. So
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's funny, huh?
yeah, it's real funny.
Now, while I have you both here, this is a question that many of us have. I do want to know both your opinions on it. We've talked about 8K and 8K being something that a lot of us are happy, and some people fear it. But now with the manufacturers, LG, Samsung, and obviously Sony now pushing 4K larger panels, where does 8K fit in for the both of you?
I'm not really a fan of 8K. Robert and I really disagree on this one 100%, but it's great to disagree. It's
why we're here.
exactly. For me, 8K, it's difficult to really appreciate it because it's a resolution. You have to have a large screen, something like this. You have to have 20/20 or greater vision, and you have to be sitting this close.
That's actually where I sit.
Really?
In front of my 83
Yeah.
up there.
So you have to be sitting this close, and you cannot have streaming.
Not yet. Yeah, I got you.
You have to have a quality 8K source, which streaming is not. So when it comes to 8K, I'm not a fan of it. Even when it's adopted by the streaming services, if it continues on with the current trend, the resolution will be comparable to a 4K UHD Blu-ray at best. Just like the current 4K streaming is comparable to a 1080p Blu-ray at best, resolution-wise.
Okay. Now, Robert,
I was going to answer that as well.
Yeah,
Did you have-
yeah.
did you
I'm
want-
gonna
okay.
give you a little bit of context on this, Robert, because I know
Okay.
that obviously we're gonna have 8K streaming at some point. Being a gamer, I will be gaming at 8K probably in the next few years. Consoles, the consoles will not be approaching that. Everyone, the consoles can't do 4K right now at 60. So, but I do know, whether we like it or not, the clear flagships of every panel will be 8K. Kind of going forward. You want the best Sony LED, you're going to have to get the Z9K. Last year that was the Z9J. But I am happy to have larger panels at 4K. But I do want to know from you, Robert, you know, what's your opinion with 8K? It's coming whether we like it or not. And as we know, the flagships are going to be 8K. Give me your thoughts. And also, I know projectors are going to be 8K as well.
Yes, thank you very much. Right, and projectors are 8K right now with JVC's NZ line. They have the NZ7, 8, and 9 8K. Yes, I do see a difference in the picture quality of 8K. I see Sony's 8K Z9J, for example, and I frequently have that TV up against its 8K sister, as well as many other 8K panels and 4K panels right next to each other. And there are more pixels, so the density, the closeness of the pixels, there are more of them. Yeah, you're also getting a brighter image because there is more light output because there's 4 times the amount of pixels.
Yes and no.
Okay, okay.
That's more so what the manufacturers choose to put in their actual displays.
Yes.
The resolution has nothing to do with light output.
That's correct.
not
So it's not
It's
better
basically
resolution.
that they're putting in a more denser backlights.
That's right.
On their 8Ks
That's right.
compared to the 4Ks.
So
and
it's
that's to force you into getting the 8Ks. It's
Right.
not-
So it's not the resolution that I'm talking about, but it is on all the 8K TVs. So you are getting that benefit.
Correct, yeah.
And you do have the benefit of a better picture quality as a result of that. I also think, and I remember Joel Silver teaching me this once, that when you make a circle and you have more pixels, you can make a rounder circle. Even a large circle could be made with more resolution in the circle, something that you would see from a distance as well. But anyway, we have higher contrast, we have better pixel density, we have, they also preserve all of their best of everything, panels, processing. When you look at an LG 8K TV against anybody's 4K TV, OLED or not, there's a very big difference in the picture quality. Same brand, 4K OLED against an 8K OLED. So it's not about the resolution, but the picture is appreciably better.
Now, Robert, can you speak a little bit about? I'm
Okay, I'm going to show it to you. Okay.
we're actually going to revisit this.
Okay,
another
all right.
day. But I do want to speak quickly.
I'm going to take my shirt off and we're going to battle this one out.
When we're talking about love, that's the love is. Robert, I know, in my opinion, the best TV last year was actually the LG ZX.
Yeah.
I love that image.
And that's what I'm
8K
referring
or
to.
not,
Yeah.
It was very rich. It was beautiful. For those of you that are watching, we are going to see, and Dewayne will be part of that. We're going to be doing a QD-OLED. Once they are available, you guys are going to see them here. You're going to see go against both calibrated a Master Series A90J. We're not playing around this year with the content. We have Dewayne here. We have Robert here. We'll be doing all these mini shootouts. But Robert, I know next year we're actually, during the shootout, we're planning on doing a true 8K versus 4K, both playing. Instead of doing a separate one, we're going to have them actually battle this year. That's
right.
That's what you're thinking, correct, Robert?
That is correct, perfectly said as well. So we were going to have a dedicated 4K HDR shootout event, and we're going to have a dedicated next day 8K TV shootout event. Then we're going to put the two kings of TV next to each other with the same content to show what is the difference between 4K and 8K. We did it at the current TV shootout, and we showed 8K content, and people were so impressed with it on the 8K native key TVs, yeah.
Even the QN90A I thought looked great.
Looked
with the actual
fantastic,
demo.
it sure did, you bet.
So as I'm wandering off, guys, here, I want to talk a little bit about the experiences you guys have both had with these in store. The consumer 198 panels. To me, it's amazing to just see them. Prototypes have been 100 inches over the years. You've had plasmas 100 inches.
Yeah.
But the
That's
reason
right.
I think I'm happy at 4K to see that they're still actually bringing 4K content and they haven't abandoned it yet, and panels this expensive are still 4K, I think is fantastic. I like having the choice. Samsung, LG, they haven't abandoned the format, so I'm very happy about that personally. But for the both of you, before we get into calibration findings, what are your thoughts on the fact that panels are this large now?
Well,
love it.
yeah, I love it too, thank you.
It's finally we're talking about stuff that's really into the front projector realm.
That's right.
So for me, I've always been kind of hesitant to get a front projector because I knew what was coming. I knew eventually, pretty much emissive displays like, the LGs and maybe the Sony next year or so, we're getting into 97 and plus range. So it's just a different feel to the image compared to front projector for me. No disrespect to front projection, but it's just, I would take an emissive display over a reflective display any day of the week, and except for when we start and speak of 200-inch screen sizes, which again, that's going to be king in front projection for now. So it's a different animal. I just think now there's more options than to have to deal with somewhat the restrictions that a front projector setup or even a short throw front projector setup brings to the table. We don't have to deal with those type of constraints anymore.
And here's my take on that. You can't beat the picture of these emissive displays. And when I say emissive, I know it's backlight,
Right.
so, but it's a front
Still
face.
it's
It's transmitting.
but
That's
it's not
right.
reflective,
That's
so-
correct. Because the blacks are black, and the peak lumens is significantly higher.
Way brighter.
So the contrast ratio and the HDR pop and image is so different on a television than it could be on any projection system. So that's the advantage of getting a large screen TV over a projector. With all that said, I love that cinema feeling in a totally dark room. I like that.
But
Less eye fatigue,
I can
a
make
real film look.
But make sure you look at Shane. So Shane is off camera.
Yeah.
Shane and I are going to have a battle with the live stream soon about projector versus.
Yeah,
Right.
I think a lot of this has to be a personal opinion
yeah,
as well.
that's why I'm
But the
asking.
differences are this dynamic image of seeing HDR. You can't see HDR like that in a cinema
Right now,
presentation.
Yeah, and to add on to that, when we're dealing with these displays like the Samsung here, I mean, it's just a giant QA90.
That's right.
I mean, Q90A, I should say.
Q90A.
So it's just a giant one. So when you're getting into this size room, it's starting to fill up your whole peripheral vision, space. So you really have to pay attention to the light output because you can have serious eye fatigue.
Yes. Eye fatigue for sure.
Yeah,
Thank you.
definitely, or possibly eye damage. It just depends. So it's just be wary of this. But I mean, no front projection or short throw, especially short throw, or even standard projection system can come anywhere close to these displays in HDR and Dolby Vision. Not even close.
Well, I think it's, so I'm hearing in the chat that having two legends talk about TVs, that's what I'm here to deliver. Actually, and that's why I'm wandering off from the two TVs. I will bring it back to the two panels. Quickly, I am going to run the demo material. I'll shut the lights off and let that run, give you guys a few minutes break. For that, I'll let the run of demo material. Shane, let's pop the lights off. All right, guys, so what I'm going to do now, thank you, Robert, is we're going to start this demo. Dwayne, you want to just let it run, or you want to start it over? So we're going to just let this demo material run.
Start it over. I can do that. This is not a big deal.
What's that? Yeah, you got to, dude. That's live streams. How we operate live stream. Me and Shane got a different style, but when you got DNICE and you have Robert in the house, you can't just be talking about one thing. So we're gonna turn off the lights. Thank you. Dwayne has just restarted Sears and Munsell, and we are using a Panasonic. It's the UB9000, right?
Yep.
Okay. And we are now in HDR. There is no Dolby Vision on the Samsung. All right, Jen, I'm going to hand the mic to Dwayne and Robert. I want you guys both to let me know what you're seeing.
So like on this scene right here, I can clearly see the difference between the Sony and the Samsung, where the Samsung is just brighter. Especially on that snow patch, it was just way brighter, and hands down brighter. Right here, it's fairly comparable in light output. I can see the differences in color accuracy because, again, the Samsung CMS is broken, Sony's is not. So color-wise, the Sony is more accurate compared to the Samsung, although the Samsung does look more saturated. It does. But that's going to be, of course, because of the calibration itself. Other than that, they both look great. They just look. They look like they need to come home with me, Robert.
Thank you.
Dwayne, are you seeing the wider color gamut play a part at all with the Samsung?
In HDR mode, it's not really wider than the Sony, to be honest with you.
That's good for everybody to know.
SDR, that's a different story. Now, when it comes to SDR, that's the purpose of calibration. If you really don't care for calibration, or you just like a saturated image, you can force, actually you can force both displays into wide color gamut mode, but if you put them into the correct mode, which would be for Rec 709 color space, which is a smaller triangle in our visual system, it's going to look less saturated, might even look kind of what some people call as bland. But I mean, again, it's art. You're not supposed to really view things in wide color gamut unless the content was designed for that wide color gamut. But again, like right here, I can see where the grass is, greener on the Samsung than the Sony. But again, it's just because you can't calibrate the colors on the Samsung. If I were to leave the CMS on the Sony alone, it'll be just as saturated.
Robert, I'd like to also know what you're seeing. Please go with your thought, but I want you to also think about the next question of what are you seeing between mini LED and full array local dimming? I know Sony's going with mini LED. You feel like you see a big difference, not off angle, but just in the image quality itself.
Yeah, thank you. And also wanted to mention, I'm sure everybody realizes it, but what you're seeing at home is a representation, but it's not exactly what we're seeing here in person when we're seeing them.
Off angle, guys.
Right.
So
And yeah, and that's difficult for how this is set up to really get in between the two so that we don't
Right.
see any of the deficiencies as you go off axis.
Right. So it's a little bit unfair, especially I think to the Sony, that we're off axis. But mini LED has its advantages, but Sony does such a good job on controlling the backlight that they've really done such a good job with this that, you know, I see some advantages in Samsung's mini LED. And as you wisely said, Sony is going to mini LED for 2022, which is just a few months away from now.
Now, Robert, for
For
you,
the model
mini
year.
LED, other than the display being more thin, you do see an advantage for Sony going in that route.
Absolutely. More local dimming zones, more LEDs, so brighter, blacker, you bet, absolutely yes. Mini LED is a very nice advancement to LCD displays. It basically gives you a lot more local dimming zones, a lot more LEDs, and a much more accurate, closer to the OLED quality. Not at OLED levels, but closer to it.
Now, we're going to just let it run now, Robert.
These are both beautiful TVs. Nobody would be dissatisfied with either one of these. These are real high quality. These are what I call luxury TVs.
So even though we are off angle, guys, you can see these are LEDs. These are not OLEDs. The black
Right.
level on both are excellent.
Yeah,
And even with, you guys all know these demos by heart. Look at the off angle, the blacks on both. These are not OLEDs. And not playing with the aperture or anything. Continue, Robert.
yeah.
But these look fantastic. Also showing you, I think, the value of calibration, Robert. What do you think?
Yeah, well, it tunes the TV to deliver its very best picture quality in all elements of picture quality. So overall, you get a better picture performance. And, you know, like Dewayne honestly said, and you can see how honest he is, these are not very good out of the box. But if you want your TV, first of all, to be hand-selected, to be a good sample, and then to be tuned to its best capabilities, then that's a match for you. So, it depends. It has to be a personal decision.
Now, you think about this, too, for Dewayne.
Yeah.
If you look at the color that we talk about, these are in HDR presently.
Correct.
I think we're also putting to bed a little bit of how the colors are pretty accurate and close since they've been calibrated by you.
Yes, I mean, and that again, that's the whole point of calibration itself. Now, one caveat with HDR, and this is regardless of technology or brand, HDR is not as accurate as SDR. So when it comes to these colors, it's kind of, this is more subjective than anything because unless we have a reference monitor here that does HDR that they use in post-production facilities, we don't know exactly, like say for instance, exactly how saturated that is supposed to be, what shade that's supposed to be, things like that. We don't know that, and that's just the issue with HDR. It's just not as accurate as SDR, but I mean, they both look beautiful.
Me too, but I think for all of us guys that the Samsungs can't be brought in and made to look accurate is a little bit of a misnomer. I mean, you're saying an SDR, but I mean, to me, to see the Samsung look this way
Right.
is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And I will say that seeing the Sony before calibration and then seeing it after, a huge difference for both of them.
Right.
So I'm impressed.
Yep. Now, one more thing that I can say, and what we were talking about behind camera is, in some of the scenes, the Samsung appears to have more depth to the image. That's going to be because of the EOTF tracking, which is it's kind of like the new version of gamma in the SDR space.
This is in regards to Samsung.
Right. It's not tracking it properly. It's actually tracking. If you were looking at the curve, the actual track of it, it's to the right. When it's to the right, that means that it's dimmer, and it can be perceived because of how Samsung algorithm is set up to be more dynamic. It's almost like a trick that they used to do in SDR mode when you basically put it in like a vivid mode. It looks punchy, but it's not punchy at all, and it's screwed up.
So by not being accurate in that regard, it's actually helping it.
Yeah,
Robert,
exactly.
Can you step into frame in between the two panels for me, just to really show you guys the size? That is right there. Robert is 6'2", and that is the true representation. He's as close to the panels as we can get. That you cannot get just on a live stream. Being in the store is very, very important. You guys want to know context.
Yeah. And real quickly, EOTF stands for electro-optical transfer function. It is very much like gamma. Gamma is an analog term. Electro-optical transfer function is a digital terminology. But they're very much the same. But when we went to HD TV, we used digital terms. So it is how it comes out of black is basically what that is.
Right.
Right.
Basically, how the light output is between the darkest level
Thank you.
and the brightest level that the TV is. How linear it is, actually.
So we're letting this run,
It's beautiful content.
and they look absolutely stunning. This
They
is
sure do.
Spears and Munsell. So we are not streaming this. This is off a Panasonic UB9000, the best built player on the market. This looks absolutely amazing. And for me personally, to see LEDs behave this way is very hopeful for me being an LED fan.
It's all in the calibration
So
also.
on the calibration, if he does say so himself.
These are beautiful, aren't they? Look at
So there are no tricks with the camera, guys. You don't see me on the fly changing anything. This is how they look.
Yeah.
And again, we are all OLED fans, but me being a fan of very high peak brightness.
Yep.
But Dwayne, tell me again, what peak nits are we looking at for the both of them?
Yeah, so on the Sony, you're looking at about 815 nits.
Okay.
On the Samsung, you're looking at around 1,550 nits.
Okay.
Now, that's with a measuring only 10% of the actual screen size. So basically, the center area, it's the standard of how you measure these things, but it's not going to give you the full picture. Like case in point here. Pause this. So in this image right here, there's not a twice as bright difference between the Samsung and the Sony.
Yep.
It's sort of like maybe an eighth, if it's even that. That's because as the brightness covers the entire screen, you start dealing with the actual functions of brightness limiters that exist in LCDs also. So 1,500 nits is not for full screen, it's just for a small size, small,
Specular highlights.
right, specular highlights, things like that. It's never for the full screen.
Nope.
Full screen wise, they're comparable in actual light output, so that's why they look very similar. You're going to only see significant differences between these two when you're looking at specular highlights, which would be like your flashlights, window in the background of a scene, things like that. That's where you'll really see the punch of the extra brightness from the Samsung. But in this image right here, they're very close to being the same.
Now, I know Robert, in the past, Sony was able to maintain that light output longer. Samsung's would dip. Is that
Yeah.
the case?
Okay, well,
Yeah.
yeah, I believe that is the case.
They're actually holding right. See,
Yeah.
they're not dimming at all.
Right, right. There's no dimming here on this technology. But also, wanted to go over one more thing. The industry standard, as Dwayne correctly said, of course, is we measure peak lumens in a 10% window. That's the established industry standard. Sony doesn't care about that. They care about only the picture quality, period. They don't care about specmanship. And what they do is, because when you have a screen this size, you're not going to use 10% at high peak lumens. You're going to use maybe 1 or 2% of the screen area. And that's what you're going to have the way it's created when you're watching HDR. Only specular highlights are a very small percent. So they hold back. They don't put their peak lumens at 10%. They do their peak lumens as needed, various.
I can give you a visual representation.
Okay,
Of 10%.
very good.
You got something right here.
So it's more about where it's needed, and it's not about specmanship when you're talking
this is
about.
roughly what
That's a
your measure
10% window. Good example.
That's a perfect representation of 10% on this actual
Yes,
screen right here.
yes.
So this will measure 1,550 nits.
That's right.
Just this book.
That's
this
right.
entire screen would not.
Would be shut off, right? Yeah. It would be black the rest of the screen.
So
'cause we're
for
only-
the horsepower guys like me that want 4,000 nits, guys, how practical is that for my Z9K next year?
Yeah, oh, the Z9K is going to do it. It'll do it. I have a little insider tip on that one.
That's
Okay.
what I'm looking for.
Okay, we'll be hitting that number.
Okay, so we're gonna let this continue to run. Speak at your leisure on what you see, what you like. Let the demo continue. Robert, take it.
Yeah, this is such a tough call because they look different, but they look much more like each other than they do look different. And they both are exceptional. Again, there's no mistake here on picking either TV. I would say
See, this is the differences between, this is the color accuracy differences between the two models right here.
Yeah.
You know, when you start looking at like a large screen of a certain color, that's where you're going to see differences.
Yes.
It's the hues.
Yes.
The Sony, of course, is going to be more accurate. I mean,
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
measured
Yes.
more accurately. Whereas, you know, depending on your actual personal taste, the Samsung may look more real, as what they say.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the actual image and how it's supposed to look per the mastering specifications,
Yeah.
Sony.
In dark areas, you have more detail on the Sony.
Yeah, let's speak a little bit about that for the both of you. I know,
Yeah.
you know, Samsung.
So the gradation details in dark areas is a little more detailed or pronounced on the Sony. Would you
Yeah.
agree on that?
Yes, but that's going to be more so with the actual local dimming algorithm.
Yes,
And
yes.
the easiest way to look at that is just look at a star field.
Oh, we should put that up.
Yeah.
We are gonna
Let's
phone
do
in
the
shortly.
Starfield, yeah.
Quickly though, I wanna say, at least my experience with the two of them, I don't see any screen problems at this size. Screen
Correct.
uniformity. I know they're very
I was
expensive. and-
pleasantly surprised, yeah.
It's because they're paying more attention to QC at this
These are
level.
QCs,
Yeah.
that's
So
correct.
as we've talked about in the past with very or cheaper, larger TVs, you are gonna have a hard time with screen uniformity, everyone. But from these two companies, they are probably QC'd by different.
I think.
Group, yeah,
Yeah.
different group. They're spending a lot more time QCing these size panels, at least for right now.
Yes, for right now.
Not to say that this is going to
That's
be
right.
consistent for the rest of the year, but I mean, if you're going to get something like this, then you might want to do it now.
So, and also,
That's a good point.
I gamed on the Samsung, Robert, you were here.
I loved it.
There was no issues with
Yeah,
panning, no pixel response.
I know, I
problems.
loved it, yeah.
It was, but normally when you see DSC, gaming is the culprit.
Correct,
is your
exactly,
panning.
exactly.
And I thought they both looked fantastic.
I would say if you're a PC gamer or Xbox Series X and you're serious about it and you want the screen size, I think Samsung is a better choice.
Yeah, but I mean,
If
no-
you're
no
doing
screen uniformities
PS5,
at all.
no.
screen
If you're doing
uniformities.
PS5, think about the Sony though.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for,
So right, sorry, like right here, what we can go back to that. I
So
don't
my
think we can.
search slowly,
Yes.
I can go back to.
Rewind it. Yeah, right here.
oh yeah, that's a
So
good-
you could see this is a good representation of what the local dimming algorithm is doing.
Yep, yep.
Is it playing? Gotta get to that point and then pause it.
See, that's why this makes me nuts with this.
Okay.
All right, actually, you know what, while we're here, you know, Dwayne, you wanna bring up the Starfield? You
Oh,
wanna
that's a
do
good one to show, yes.
Yeah, let's do that.
that?
What a great menu this is, beautiful.
So, Robert, I'm gonna have you speak a little bit about the Starfield. Just, it's gonna run, you guys can both just chime in.
Already?
Nothing on the sim.
Is
Now
it,
it just popped
is
up.
the Samsung on?
It just popped on.
Oh,
Okay, so,
so it's only
not
on,
showing up
it's
on
not showing it, it's just showing
It's
it a little
showing.
bit.
It's just
Well-
a little bit.
the camera's not picking it up, everyone. but,
Exactly,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, I'm not picking it up either, but it is on, right?
The,
Okay.
now
I
it's,
think it's on the screen, no, it's not.
hold on, guys. Okay, so right now, it's actually,
Yeah,
Oh, there we go,
So-
there we go, yeah.
we can see it more here,
Oh,
I
I
can just
see.
describe, there it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I know that it repeats itself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
let's talk about the importance, both of you, of the Starfield, and again, Samsung's approach to local dimming
Yeah.
versus Sony's.
Now, it should be because of mini LED. Technically, on paper, this should be better. But it's not, we're not experiencing that.
It's all in the local dimming algorithms.
I guess so, yeah.
Samsung has chosen a route to focus more so on deep black levels.
That's right.
At the expense of
That's right.
low-end lumens detail itself.
Right, right.
So that's why when we're watching this actual piece of content,
Yeah.
the Starfield appears later than the Sony does. Sony is taking more of a conservative approach, where they're sacrificing, deeper blacks at the to ensure that you're getting the low-end details, and the low-end details are just as prevalent as if they were brighter details.
Yep.
So that's the difference between the two manufacturers. But also, because we're dealing with a mini LED has more zones compared to this Sony, we're also seeing that actual difference also.
Yeah.
Because the Samsung is going to have more dimming zones compared to the Sony. Now, this upcoming 22 model year will be a very interesting,
Right. Very
comparison between these two.
Very true.
But there's no 100-inch or 98-inch or 90 whatever inch mini LED from Sony.
Nope.
Not yet.
Nope.
So you guys can see it a little bit here, but Robert, why don't you explain or describe for me what you're going to see on this next slide as these come in. I can see from what you see,
Yeah.
Robert. What are you seeing with your
So,
eyes?
well, what we see here in person is more stars in the sky. That's
On
what
the
we
So-
see.
on the Sony.
On the Sony. Thanks for explaining that. Thank you. So the Sony has more stars in the sky. So, and it's more realistic to what the scene was. And again, Samsung is kind of crushing some of that. So that's the difference. And the star field is a good example to show you how you can see the differences in how these two perform next to each other.
I do feel that the specular highlights on the Sony are still very bright.
Yes.
Even though there is more of them, Samsung, let's see, it is taking a while for the Samsung. I know you guys can't really see it as much there. It takes the Samsung a little while to show some of the stars. But I don't find the specular highlights on the actual Samsung to be any brighter. So maybe that's part of the... Dwayne, do you feel in the algorithm that when the stars do show up, they're not necessarily brighter on the Samsung? Do you feel that they... You would think that with the higher peak brightness and a smaller window, they would be more vibrant. They're not.
Well, it's also with the algorithm, and at the same time, I'm not exactly sure what Stacy has the light output for this to be. Because that's going to all be also in the mastering. Not everything is going to be mastered to 2,000 nits, or the specular highlights 2,000, 4,000 nits.
Yeah, the star field, we can't control like the other
Correct.
panels, correct?
Yeah, so that would be a question that I would probably have to ask Stacy to see exactly,
we ask him?
right, what exactly is the light output for the star field,
Okay.
luminous wise.
Very good. We can get that answer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we definitely can.
But depending on, what part of this actual demo it is, this Samsung does appear a little brighter, not, twice as bright.
Do we lose our Wi-Fi service?
Just briefly for a
We're
second.
back on?
It'll be back on.
Okay. All right.
30 minutes or something.
I think we're covering some really good material.
Yeah, I would say so. Yes, it's very, very excellently, very well done.
So we are, let's see, I think we, keep you, hold on to it, Robert. I think we're still good with,
Like if I try to stream 8K now, can't
yeah.
do it.
So, Dwayne, can we put the regular demo material back on? I'll have you guys sit back down for me. It's right here. I'll take that for 1 second.
All right.
All right. You guys still with me? Just let me know if you guys can still hear me. Just somebody in the comments just say, what's up? So you can let me know we're back in. Dwayne is actually going in and then restarting the demo. All right, so we're gonna let this little bit just run quickly. You gotta grab that phone, Robert.
No.
I will tell you guys, when we are in the store, and personally when I'm in the store, the business never stops. So we will be looking to do a little bit of a studio space, and we'll be able to bring you content without interrupting. Look at that's beautiful. Now, me being an OLED fan, I will tell you that Dwayne, rewind it. I'm gonna have Dwayne DJ. Robert, we talk about pure white on OLEDs. Real quick, do we have a zone count for the X92, Dwayne, or no? No. We don't. So, okay, we don't have a zone count.
We'll get that answer.
So here we are with pure white.
Pure white. Now, this is case in point in one of those scenes where we can clearly see a brightness difference between the Samsung and the Sony. Now, in this particular scene, it does look about twice as bright.
Okay. I will also clarify for you guys, there is no grid pattern on this panel. So
They're clean. These
they're
are
very clean. So, something we're gonna be looking out and Did you guys have any issues with grid panels in QC at all this year with any of the TVs?
Not on this screen size.
How about the X95 at 85, Dwayne? Any issues with the grid pattern that you'd seen?
It's mostly on OLEDs, right?
There's a grid pattern on
There is a little
the
grid
LEDs, but you guys.
Minimal.
Okay, so I want to make sure that's not an inherent flaw and that's an actual flaw.
I
with
see
the-
them occasionally where they're reject, but it's a small amount.
Let's get Shane in the frame. Shane being the biggest guy of the group, we're gonna have him stand. Shane stands approximately 6'7", and he is here in frame. This is a spare change production, everyone.
Crazy.
There he goes. There he goes. All right. It is
I wanted
amazing.
to add something.
Go ahead, jump in there.
Yeah. When I first brought home my 83-inch A90J, the first thing I said when I turned it on is, I'm so happy I lived long enough to see this beautiful, big, giant OLED TV. That is so amazing. And I feel the same way when I look at these gorgeous TVs. These are the nicest LCD TVs I've seen, and it's so impressive to see a 100-inch image of this quality. It's so much fun. We stay here sometimes and leave them both on and watch content just to enjoy having the immersive experience of this incredible image quality in this screen size. It's so well paired to have a large screen and high luxury quality image like this. It's really a delight,
Now,
a
Robert,
real
a little
pleasure.
sneak peek. When are we going to see the new LG at 90?
97-inch. So we're going to have the new successor to the Gallery series, which will be the G2 series, with the backlight, with the the heatsink. Yep, thank you.
The 97 will have the
Yes, all screen sizes in the G2 will have the heatsink, which will cool the panel, which will help make it last longer and help the burn-in issue. It'll also permit them to drive the panel harder so it'll be brighter. The panels are also more electrically efficient for 2022 and are naturally brighter as well. So we're going to see a significant jump in peak lumens, better electrical efficiency if somebody cares about that, and a new processor for 2022 also. Yeah, these are just gorgeous. This is beautiful content we're showing
I
on them
know
as well.
someone in the chat has said they've had several grid patterns on their Sonys. I will tell you,
Yes,
if that
we do
happens,
see it.
if that does happen enough here, they will reject them.
Right.
I've been here a few years now. If there's an issue, guys, they'll reject panels. They have no problem doing that. So if you are finding that you're seeing grid patterns that are heavy, those are flaws. Those would not pass QC here. I can tell you that because I've seen many. I've waited for TVs from Robert that he's rejected personally.
Yes.
Which is why we never got a CX, right, Robert? We
That's
couldn't
right.
Find a
We
clean
couldn't
one.
find a good one.
So
That's right.
believe me, I can attest to how picky they are. Let's put these chairs back in, fellas, and
Okay.
get you guys seated again. Dwayne, you okay on time?
We're okay on time?
Oh, yeah, flight's delayed.
Oh, that's okay, good, okay. Okay, we got Dwayne for a little more time, his flight's delayed. So sometimes a delayed flight's a good thing.
Oh, he's headed back south?
Yeah,
Okay.
very good.
How we feeling, gentlemen?
Feeling pretty good,
Guys doing
yeah.
okay? Oh, yeah. All right, so I do want to talk, again, Dwayne and Robert both, I know with our calibration findings, the challenges with calibrating them both, and in a very, not crazy analytical way, Dwayne, tell me what your findings were, how they were calibrating, ease of calibration for them both.
Sure. Ease of calibration, they're close. I would still say the Sonys are easier to calibrate. The Samsungs, again, the grayscale is easy to calibrate for me. Colors you can't touch. So overall, of course, that means that the Samsung is easier to calibrate because I don't have to mess with CMS. But the CMS on the Sonys I can do in 5 minutes or less. That's how great the control set is on that. Summary is just post-calibration, they're pretty much perfect. As good as you can get on the grayscale. Colors, of course, are better on the Sony. They're not 100% reference, but for people like who's your audience or somewhat, they will be enthused about it 100%. They will know
My audience
that.
is very knowledgeable. I just won't let them become little mini calibrators. I want to
Yeah.
keep it to where we.
Oh,
can-
no.
So-
They really would not be able to tell a difference between, what they can do and what I can do on this, and if you had a reference monitor beside it, it's going to be very difficult for them to really see a difference. With the Samsung, again, because the CMS control set is pretty much broken, you're going to see some differences.
Now, Robert, I know we talked about game mode and calibration being
That's right.
something that has to be addressed separately.
So if you're calibrating the TV with us, and if you're going to do even casual gaming, you should definitely calibrate the game mode. It is a $50 option, but it's 3 more calibrations for us because we got to do SDR and HDR. So there's a lot more work for us, and we ask you to pay an extra $50. Even if you're a casual gamer, if you're calibrating the TV, you should definitely add that $50 to it. Thank you.
Yep. Now, having said that, now I know there were I know some people are concerned about the limited control set of the game modes on the Samsungs.
Right.
In HDR mode, it's fine. It's just as good as the Sony. In SDR, the Sony's going to pull ahead with these because it's only a 2-point control set that works in the game mode on SDR on the Samsung.
Thank you. Very well said. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And I know, again, with Dwayne, I remember we talked about the CX, and I had hit him up about gaming. He's like, Brian, I'm not that big a gamer, man.
That's right.
Busy people can't game often.
I can't.
But, so again, in a way, let's just again talk about your findings. In a way that you would want to eloquently speak, what did you see in your findings with calibration? Just quickly, what stood out to you with both? What stood out to you? What was glaring where you said to yourself, okay, wow, this one is this much different being mini LED versus full array?
Well,
that played part of it.
When you start looking at, pluged patterns, which are just dealing with the low end of the grayscale spectrum or the low end of the brightness spectrum, I should say, that's where you'll see more blooming, et cetera, on the Sony. One is because of their local dimming algorithm and how they want to do things, and then 2, their actual zone count. On the Samsung, it's kind of like the exact opposite with those categories. Other than that, to me, I've done so many of these. It's kind of like a standard calibration to me. Like I said, the only real quirk that I know of is, and I've seen this a lot with the Samsungs lately, when you get the TV, when you take it out of the box, just do a factory reset first, because sometimes, actually, the majority of the time that I've been calibrating it, they kind of lose their light output in HDR mode. It goes to 50% of light output. It has to be a bug in their firmware, but resetting the TV corrects the problem. Findings-wise, again, I don't see any black crush, no, clipping of any details on the low end, no uniformity issues on full screen white or in between. These panels were really, really greatly QC'd at the actual factory, so they're as good as they get from a consumer display, as far as, defects are concerned. Another glaring thing, again, is just simply that the Samsung was very, very close to D65 out of the box in movie mode, or if you can activate the Cal Day and Cal Night modes, it'd be the same in Cal Night. Samsung.
Ooh, nice, okay.
Yeah, Sony. When it comes to the Sony,
They have their own white point.
Yeah, they have their own way of doing things. They target a different white point. It's what I call the Sony white point.
Yes.
When you look at it from that perspective, it's kind of like fairly the same measurement-wise as far as errors are concerned to what the Samsung was doing to the D65 white point. So in that perspective there, if I just look at it from the perspective of what Sony does in the factory, then they're neck and neck. However, I don't agree with what Sony's doing in the factory. So for me, the Samsung is more accurate than the Sony
Interesting.
out of the box for this one.
For this particular.
For this particular model, for this particular setup here. For the smaller models, no, it's about the same as far as errors are concerned. But for this one, very close.
Excellent. Robert, what has been the demand? What have you seen as far as units moving? I know we are in a specific area, but you see there is a need for these, there is a want for these.
Demand is higher than what you would expect for a TV of this size and cost.
I want it.
Yeah, demand is very high, actually. Supply is very constrained, so it's very hard to get enough of these TVs, believe it or not. So I think what's happening is they are QCing these very carefully, so they're very slow in production. They really do a good job of tuning them up at the factory, and we can't get enough of them, believe it or not.
I hope they keep that up, and it just means that they're not interested in getting these back.
That's correct. And I think it's in everyone's best interest to give you a good sample on
It'll
this.
be a total loss. to
No,
them
you're not
because
kidding. Nobody wants to take these.
shipping back
That's
to
right.
the factory or
One-
to the
One thing I want to mention about the differences between these TVs is kind of interesting, and I think Shane knows this better than anybody,
Shane had them.
because Shane helped us set up both of these TVs.
Yeah, because he came in when I was on vacation.
Yes, that's right. This Sony has really four really well-positioned, really good grips in the back of the TV.
Yes.
And did somebody tell me it was like grips that were for like Iron Man lifting or something?
It was, yeah, so during, in Dwayne, you know the strongman competition.
Strongman competition.
So the ones in the 70s had those handles that you would carry stuff.
Yeah.
But I was here, we had filmed the unboxing of the QN90A, which is always hard to, because the middle.
Yes.
And we all had to lift it. You think the panel's going to pull apart at the bottom
Yes.
because it's 80
Yes.
pounds. But yeah, it's
So-
definitely a more.
The Sony is slightly heavier, they're similar in weight, but the Sony is easier to manage.
Definitely easier to-
So much easier to wall mount or lift up onto your table. So I really liked their design of that. It's also a heavier, stronger chassis.
Definitely
And if anybody cares about this, it has moderately better built-in audio. I put that at the very end because not too many people would care about that.
Yeah, yeah,
But the build of the chassis and frame and those really nice handles, you're only going to use it one time, but you'll be so thankful
Yeah, we'll
on
be
a
moving
heavy
around
100-inch
here.
TV that you have that. And I would advise the Samsung folks, if they're listening, to look into helping us
If you
make this
want
easy.
to save some money on the 100-inch, could you get a version without speakers?
Thank you. We can do a commercial together.
Limited time, swipe
Yeah.
your credit card on the laptop.
So Sony was kind enough to make us professional product dealers as well. And they do make this for the professional broadcast industry as a monitor only.
Oh,
No tuners, no speakers,
that's it.
Just screen.
just a screen, just a monitor. That's all it is.
What's funny is, ironically, Vizio was doing that with no tuner. Well, it's
Yes.
Vizio, but they were with
Yes.
no tuners. I'll take
Yes.
the Google Fire Stick
Yes.
any day of the week. And we'll
Thank you, Shane. That was a good question. So this is available as a monitor
Let me
only.
just show Shane
So-
over here just hanging out.
So if you have an external audio system
That's
and
Ellie, by the way.
and you don't need tuners built in for over the air or cable, then I would say the monitor might be a very good choice, because the power supply has one job. Give me a picture.
Yep.
We don't have to stress the power supply with amplifiers for audio and over-the-air tuners and cable tuners. We don't need any of that circuitry to bring more noise into the picture.
Plus, 100-inch is kind of like the entry point, so
Yes.
you might get a projector.
Yes, that's right, which is not a
I don't,
smart
right,
device
exactly.
either.
I don't know of anyone with a 100-inch or anywhere remotely close to a 100-inch that has or will be using.
That's
built-in
right.
speakers.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
Doesn't really make any sense.
That's
Well,
right.
I'll tell you that me being in the heavyweight division and one of the few YouTube people that actually has TVs that are over 77 inches.
Yes.
A lot of YouTube channels actually dismiss smaller TVs, and the reason that is they're very hard to film and they're very hard to return
Right.
Right.
upon reviewing and returning them. So I am somebody who loves the immersion of larger panels. I am a
Me
whole
too.
theater nerd. Means
Me
I
too.
want the theater.
That's right.
So me, the bigger, the better. So we're bringing you content that can't be seen on the planet right now with not only these two guys, but these two panels are not anywhere on the platform together. So, thank you to Shane, thank you Dwayne, and to Robert. I would like to move into final conclusions, guys. If we are doing this as a shootout,
Yep.
I would like to know which you prefer and why.
I'm going to let you do this one. Thank you.
Well,
This
we're gonna
is-
go back to you, Robert.
Okay.
I want to get your thoughts on it as
Yeah,
well.
it's
You look right here. I got you right here.
yeah. For me, it's going to be more so dependent on the actual type of content I'm watching.
And which is what for you?
SDR and HDR. So if I'm watching SDR, I will have to go with the Sony, because one thing that we have not really talked about is the XR processor. hands down, the
I
processor,
was going to cover upscaling, so yeah,
Yeah.
stay with that.
Yeah.
It's a big one.
hands down, the processor on the Sony is better than on the Samsung.
Okay.
So for SDR, absolutely, I would do the Sony 100-inch over the Samsung. Now, having said that, in the HDR realm, it becomes a bit more complicated.
Don't be afraid, tell me.
HDR is about, it's absolute basically. So you have to have certain brightness measurements at certain points. So for me, in that actual, criteria, I would take the Samsung because it can go brighter, go almost twice as bright compared to the Sony. So that means that it's going to need less tone mapping, which means that we're getting more of exactly what the content creators wanted us to see as far as specular highlights without, depending on the manufacturer to come in and chime in, I should say, and say basically, well, I think you should look at it and look at this particular specular highlight in this manner compared to what the content creators wanted us to see. So SDR, Sony, Samsung, HDR.
But in your opinion, the Sony is bright enough to bring you the specular highlights real quick?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No. Not to say that the Sony is dim, because it's not. Again, we're in the front projector realm, and either one of these displays, hands down,
Specular
right,
highlights.
will handle easily anyone's craving for light output. Period.
Before we go to Robert,
Yes.
stay with this for 1 second.
Uh-huh.
Guys. Tell me about, your preference now, Samsung's local dimming in regards to crushing it a bit, or the shadow detail of the Sony. Which do you personally prefer? Do you see it here with these two? Again, I know it's content based, but if you had to choose between a little bit of crushing blacks and shadow detail, where are you on this?
Oh wow, I want both. Yeah, that's why I like OLED. So I want both.
Thank you.
But it's a difficult question. I would really have to.
I'm putting it to you right now. You're taking one of these home right now. Which are you favoring in regards
I'm
to?
getting the Sony.
Shane, pull the truck up. All right, so I guess so for you finishing up, Shane,
Yeah.
or DNICE,
Yeah.
you feel overall you're gonna go with the Sony.
Overall, I would do the Sony, just because it's overall the package itself, the entire package that goes outside of just the brightness range, or the local dimming zone count, etc. The overall package is just more sound on the Sony compared to the Samsung, but it's not like it's a large margin. We're splitting hairs here.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Because that's what we'll be doing in a shootout.
Yeah.
It really is high level versus high level.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I want everybody to understand, that any one of them will be amazing. But we are here to critique it.
Yeah.
And Robert, I know your love for, all technology and all panels. Please go with your full thoughts on
Yeah.
which you would prefer and how you think they both fare.
Yeah. Again, I would mirror everything you just said because we totally agree on this. These are both outstanding televisions. So again, no shame on either one of these. I guess I would probably also lean towards taking the Sony because I do love that XR processor, and I do love the scaling and conversion of up-converting it from lower resolution. It even cleans up streaming and takes care of some of the anomalies that we have in compression. So it just cleans it up a little bit nicer. The other thing is specular highlights look very good on the Sony, even though it's not as bright, because again, Sony is focused on the processing power of the XR and taking those specular highlights and putting all of its energy and efforts into making that small 1% area brighter. So when you're looking at SDR and you're looking at this Samsung, it looks brighter. When you look at HDR, it looks brighter also, but the differentiation is not as great in my eyes.
And for you, Robert, shadow detail versus...
I like the shadow detail, so I'm big on that. But again, I'm annoyed that I don't have pure black. So that's what makes me also a Sony fan and I'm sorry, I'll get it straight. That's what's making me an OLED fanboy, is that I like the pure blacks.
That's why we have a 97-inch.
That's why we got this 97-inch coming. That's right, with higher peak lumens as well.
But while we're here, we also know that LG and Sony address coming out of black with their OLED, so that's
Yes.
another ball of wax, which we'll be sure to
Yes,
cover
yes.
in another episode when we do compare.
Yes.
I'm sure one of the
Yeah,
heavyweights will.
but these are gorgeous TVs. And again, you put them in two separate rooms and you're watching SDR content. I don't know if Superman would know which was which. They look very, especially once they're tuned up, they look more like each other than they look different.
Okay.
So, and with,
Anything else you want to add?
and this is Samsung's flagship model. This is Sony's, in between the 90 and 95, one small step down from the high end.
Yep.
Still with the XR processor that's world famous. So again, these are just world-class
So
televisions.
since this is a spare change production, I'm
Yes.
gonna have Shane slide into frame
Okay?
and see which one he prefers. You guys not the lead frame, but let's it.
I know, everybody's like leaving.
Wish I could remember you all.
I wish you would too.
Now, first of all, apologize for
Hello,
the
guys.
lights for tonight, please.
Hello. All right, let me get serious for a second here.
Okay. Shane will say projectors are better. We'll start with that.
Projectors, listen, if we're at this size right here, there's no denying that a projector is better. So if you're gonna do it, you gotta do it right. But if,
Which would be
listen,
your favorite? Which would your personal? I know we talked about how you saw the Samsung out of the box.
well,
when you
let's
first
let's talk about the deficiencies in app performance between each television set, because I think we were using the YouTube app on both these sets the other night when we were doing a 4-hour stream, and on this television set, the Sony, it looked like garbage. It looked like we were getting some DSE, some cross hatching, all kinds of garbage in this set, and I automatically gave the win to the Samsung. But upon further calibration inspection from Mr. Dewayne DNICE over here, or Dwayne, I'm gonna have to give.
Give him the microphone with-
I'm gonna have to give the slight win. I'm gonna have to give the slight win over to the Sony.
Yeah.
Although this one, let's first talk about like just the specular highlights though. More impressive on the Samsung. There's no doubt about that. I think if you were to see these two sets side by side and you were looking at 4K content and you were going to base your purchase on 4K content, and you're maybe like a noob or a newbie or just someone that just, listen, you want to get that eye candy, that's the set. That one's going to win. I think if you're all about accuracy and you know about gamma curves and EOTFs and all this other stuff, you're probably going to pick the Sony. But I think for more dynamic impact, it's kind of like having a speaker that sounds neutral or having a speaker that's a little edges, a little bit more curves upwards on the treble ends, a little bit more brighter. You're probably going to pick the Samsung. So, I mean, for those folks that want a little bit more punch and more excitement out of their television sets, the Samsung's going to win. If you want to get something a little bit more accurate, then the Sony's going to win. But you got to pick your poison. What do you want?
That's right.
What do you want? You want accuracy? You want more excitement?
We also have a friend that is a customer to the store. I'm going to have you jump right into frame for me really quickly. Being somebody,
Okay.
just for being somebody who just happened to walk into the store, that's what we were looking for. Camera's right over here.
Okay.
Why don't you introduce yourself, and I want you to say, just as a customer to the store, correct?
Well, I would call him an enthusiast.
Well, he's an enthusiast. Have a seat.
I
Have
am
a seat. Sit
an
down.
enthusiast.
You sit down, my friend.
I'm going to give my opinion. I think that.
Microphone's coming back to you, but
Okay.
just you sitting here as you walk in, this is what I'm looking for.
Whatever you feel, honestly.
Okay, my name's Roderick, and I'm going to give my opinion about what I think. I think that if I'm a new customer and didn't know nothing about,
Tell me what you got first.
we could get into that, right? But
separate stream with that.
but then I feel that the average customer is type of tilted towards excitement, and this definitely is going to give it to you. And if you don't know what you're looking for, this is definitely going to give it to you, right? I noticed when I was standing in the back row, my eyes started to gravitate more towards this one because I got more spectral highlight pop. But what was interesting, DNICE made a simple adjustment on the TV, and all of a sudden, pow, this started doing its thing. It's not doing it now. I don't know if you put it back to that setting. Okay, but I saw the mid-range detail popped more on this. And I said, well, then if I'm spending my money and I want to get the most out of a picture, I'm going to spend my money towards this. Maybe I might take a little hit on the dark blacks. And maybe I might take a little hit on the spectacular highlights. But I'm paying my money towards a more accurate picture. So it's really up to you and then how you tell yourself if you are a consumer, or if you're an educated consumer. So the educated consumer is going to do this, and consumer is going to do this. And that's all I have to say. We're not going to talk about anything else. Okay. Thank you.
My pleasure. I will say, guys, for me, I will say that one, I can go over here. Well, anyway, it's too close to me. But I will say that prior to calibration, I actually liked the Samsung for the reasons that my friend listed here. It is that walk into a brightly lit Costco, Best Buy, the Samsung just pops off the screen. It is three-dimensional. Amazing job calibrating it, Dewayne. I mean, ridiculous. But I would feel when they were calibrated to be accurate, I think the Samsung loses some of its power. For me, I prefer this, seeing them both calibrated, and amazing that it is calibrated this accurately. I mean, it looks unreal. I do then favor the Sony. Where the Samsung, to me, I think off the chain, for you guys at home, the Samsung almost looks better inaccurate and bleeding everywhere. But out of the two right now, especially at this image right, I'm gonna mess it up. This image right here, if I'm looking at it right as we are, I'll have you guys look at it right now. To me, can you turn the aperture down, Shane, a little bit? Just so they can see. The camera's not even pointing at them right now. Dewayne, I'd love to hear your thoughts, and Robert, your thoughts. If I'm looking at this image here, to me, even though we have brighter specular, I know Samsung struggles with this. This looks flat to me in this one scene, and that looks a little clearer. So there's times when I think the Samsung gets calibrated to look. It takes away a little bit of its power. That punchiness. Now I know we can reactivate those with different settings, but to me, I think, as we've all said, the Samsung stands out almost illegally with some of their, their extra processing, but they both are absolutely amazing. But right now, with the calibration, I favor the Sony. Without the calibration, I like the Samsung better. So, which is very interesting. And we're gonna let, now Dwayne's gonna flex a little bit with the settings. And again, yeah, so now, guys, as we can see that we talk about, again, preference of image. And which one is accurate, the other one is bleeding off of the screen right now. But in the store, 97% of the people walking in that are buying are gonna see that. But I think in your home, in your basement, in your home theater, as we're talking about, the Sony really does stand out with the XR processor.
And the funny thing is, you said that in the stores, you have to remember, no one's home is as bright as a store.
That's right.
Then on top of it, the store lighting is identical to this lighting right here.
Yep.
This lighting right here is what, 7,000 Kelvin or something like that? It's super blue. So what happens is, to be honest with you, what we see in the store, visually, perception, will be closer to the calibrated image, because the blue is killing basically the blue output of that, right?
That's right.
So it looks closer to this.
That's right.
But if you take that same blue image at the store and bring it home, it's going to look like this, because our lighting is not typically this right here. It's more so this right here.
And what I think is also fascinating about that is the noise and the aliasing of the image does not
Yep.
show up in store.
Right.
So like dynamic contrast and the store modes that we're all familiar with look great in store. When you
Correct.
bring them home, that image does look staticky.
Absolutely
Yes,
true.
yes,
Absolutely
yes.
true.
All right, guys, we are going to wrap up. You guys both have a seat one more second for me. I appreciate your patience.
Okay, thank you.
stop. Shane's making fun of me. We have different ways of operating our channels. Robert, closing thoughts. We're going to stay with closing thoughts on these two panels, and then Robert, you're. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. And then we'll have. So I know Dwayne's gonna catch a plane.
I'm good on time, though.
You're good on time? Okay. Closing thoughts, Robert, on the Sony X92 and the Samsung. I'm going to come back to you about future displays. Actually, both of you. So, just closing thoughts on what you see,
Well,
how you feel.
My closing thoughts are, I want to thank all the great engineers and product development people at Samsung and Sony for having the guts to build gorgeous, high-end, beautiful, luxurious, giant screens like this. It really, really is a niche market that makes those buyers so thrilled with what they get and so grateful, as well as the dealers that represent you. So my hat's off to these two great companies to build these high-end, really premium, enthusiast quality, ultra-large screens.
And Robert,
So
you are saying we are going to be or Shane and I are going to have the opportunity to actually, I know we're not going to say their names online, we will have the opportunity to actually interview the top engineers at Sony. We'll do that through Robert as well. So
that
that's
is
very
correct.
exciting for
Thank you.
us.
Thank you.
So it's going to be a killer year. Dwayne,
Yes.
we're going to jump over to you quickly again. Your closing thoughts on both panels and what your feelings are on both of them and how excited you are about them.
Yeah, I concur with Robert. I'm just excited that we're now in the realm of 100-inch, somewhat emissive displays, heavyweights where we don't have to 100% rely on Shane's front projection world. But,
Change up.
and by the way, Shane, as we progress in the years, it's going this way and that way on these screens. So your front projection is going this way and these are going that way. So
Shane's gonna be like, wait till I get this dude home. He gets me on his channel and it's over. I'll just try to jump in and help me when I'm in his place and he's got all his equipment out.
yeah, but yeah, I definitely would like to thank both Samsung and Sony for bringing these large screens to market. They are phenomenal. Again, right now we're just nitpicking everything because they're so good out of the box. And even post calibration that we just have to find something wrong with it or, we wouldn't be doing our job. But, both of them are excellent. I can fully understand if someone has an issue picking one or the other. I would say if you have the money, get both.
I want to say before we go into, so we're done with this wrap-up aspect of it, of these two panels. I'll take that mic real quick. I want to say as a YouTuber, as a content creator, I am an enthusiast, but I'm an uneducated enthusiast. I am like you. I have a regular job, regular career. Put the camera back on them quickly. To have these two guys, Dwayne DNICE and Robert Zohn. Robert is not this retailer. I don't want to hear this nonsense in the comments. We will interview Robert and we'll talk about his background and Dwayne's background. But for me to be sitting here, and Shane is an enthusiast too. My man in the back's an enthusiast. But to be able to really interview these two guys,
I'm a pro.
he's a pro. But to be able to interview these two guys, I know you guys feel this in the chat. It is a true gift because the level of knowledge that I have in this room is beyond mine. But I am a fan. And I am passionate. I know you guys are passionate. And that's what we're bringing you here. This store that we're in is their home. And it is a family business. So we will interview them individually. We're going to talk a little bit about that quickly. I do want to hear their favorite panels of all time quickly. And then we'll talk a little bit about the future. But I want to let you know, as a fan myself, as a content creator, we are just fans. And I want you guys to just give love to the amount of knowledge that we have. He's zooming in on like my pores right now, but the amount of the amount of knowledge we have in front of us. I mean, to me, I want to just listen, but I'm blown away by the knowledge that's here, and I want to make sure that that's first and foremost. So quickly, we're going to wrap up. I want to talk about the future of what we're seeing and what we're going to be seeing soon. Dwayne, I'm going to start with you quickly. I want to know your thoughts on what's coming up and what you're most excited about.
For this year, I'm most excited for, on the OLED side of the house, the 97-inch G2. I cannot wait for that thing to come out. It has to come home with me at this point.
And Dwayne, where will you see it? Where will you see it on YouTube? You will see it right with us.
Well, I'm going to see it in my home first. I'm going to see it in my home first, but yeah, I will see it with you guys also. But other than that, I am excited to see what Sony has in store for that Z9K.
Oh, yeah.
The backlight master drive coming back to life with the mini LED zone count that they're claiming that they have in conjunction with it. That's, if on paper, if they keep to what it is on paper, it can be a game changer.
Minus 3D.
Nah, forget 3D. Yeah, forget 3D.
So, Dwayne, I'm getting
Yeah.
a direct question from
Sure.
you, from Gary, is please ask DNICE, what's the new feature still not present on these models that he would love to see perfected? Same with you, Robert, on future models. Is there something that you're missing feature-wise that you'd like to see?
For me, and this is for all manufacturers, and I still don't understand why they don't do this, but for me, I would love to see, you have 6, 7 video modes for a multitude of your customer base. Make one video mode as accurately as possible out of the box to the current standards that are available so that enthusiasts can enjoy the same TV.
Why do they not have a pro calibrated mode like that? You think it would be simple? Why not have that?
It's more so because of their focus groups, marketing, basically. It's not because their engineers are incapable of doing it. It's just more so that their focus groups say that people prefer this image. But I mean, you have 7+ video modes, and enthusiasts are out there purchasing these displays also. We don't care about the other 6, just give us one mode. It's funny that they have a movie mode, they have, if it's an LG, you have your ISF expert mode, which if it's ISF expert, although ISF does not create the actual standards, they actually make sure they adhere to the standards. If you have that label, that mode should be as close as possible to the standard.
So LG has an ISF certified mode and a filmmaker mode.
Correct.
What's
Even
the best mode?
either one of them, they're very similar. It's just marketing again. But even with filmmaker mode, give us filmmaker mode that's as close as possible to D65, not Sony, your in-house white point, not a blue, plus blue image that some other manufacturers use, or a redder or greener, image. Give us something as close as one standard that everyone can agree upon and go from there. I don't understand why that hasn't happened yet, but again, beyond, the focus groups and things like that, but that's what I wish would come, 2023, 2024.
Possibly Robert can bring that up in his.
It's been done before. It's not like that they don't know that this is an ask. It's just getting it implemented.
Well, I'll tell you, as a gamer,
Yeah.
as a gamer, what I need is for Samsung kind of disabling local dimming, I need a cinema game mode, to where you let input lag rise, keep things enabled. Local dimming does disable. I mean, I've changed it. I had the consoles connected to it. Though this still look good. Give me a cinema game mode, and then give me a quick game input lag mode. That would be, I can't buy a Samsung for that one reason, is that I game primarily, and I need cinema settings for game mode. That would be something I would need. So, again, Dwayne,
Yeah.
you're looking forward to, back to Dwayne.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to the 97 OLED. I'm looking forward to the mini LED implementation from Sony. I'm looking for, a more QC controlled Samsung 2022 product. I'm looking forward to Hisense doing a better job with their dual cell, because that's a great concept. It was just poorly implemented. Yep. So I prefer not to, bash a product. Just give them opportunities for improvement. And it's very obvious and easy to point out things that are, opportunities for improvement. I want every single year to be an improvement on the prior year, not just okay, I'm just going to change this 1 to a 2 or this 2 to a 3 and call it a new model.
Do you think because Sony has such ties with Hollywood and cinema, people regard their products as being accurate, not only in the home, but they have like cameras, cinema cameras and all that, they actually listen to their customers, whereas Samsung has their foot in the pool as far as like as far as like refrigerators and cell phones and all that. Maybe they don't listen to the consumers as much.
Well,
Feedback as much. They're just like, let's just create a product that just excites people.
no, they all do the same thing. Yes, Sony is well known in the actual production of film, TV content, etc. But anyone who's in the actual industry knows when it comes to this actual question, it's more so there's the Sony look and then there's the standard.
Yeah, so.
So that's not to bash Sony, because Sony does do a great job, but everyone in the industry knows this actual, what to say to this actual question. It's the Sony look and then there's the standard. So for me, when it comes to Sony, I would just say your engineers are excellent, but there are opportunities for improvement to go outside of the box, and the box for you guys is just the Sony look, and try to do something or give the opportunity to create something that's more towards the actual standard itself. So,
Well said, my friend. Real
Thank
quick,
you.
Matt Gianta is saying Dewayne is a great calibrator. Did a Samsung LED at my home over 10 years ago. So Matt is saying hello. Why
Hello.
are you showing me? I'm Scorsese. I'm back here. Show this guy. Matt's saying hello. You calibrated. That's why I think it's amazing to have you here. That you have gone to people's homes
yes.
and actually done this. And he continues to do this. I will put all of Dewayne Davis's information as well in the description. You can find him, and obviously he has a business on his own. Robert, I want to go into Backlight Master Drive, Dewayne too.
Yeah.
But what are you most excited about, Robert? What? Oh yeah, sorry. Matt, love you, but I'm gonna take your comment down. Robert, what are you looking forward to yourself? What is it? I know this year we're gonna be bringing you everything this year. We're bringing all the TVs. I'm gonna show you everything here in Robert's store. This doesn't happen without Robert, which is why you hear his name in every video we do. Is because it doesn't happen unless we're here. We are not buying TVs, bringing them home, and then sending them back. That's not what we're doing here. So we're very lucky to be here. So give Robert his props, and thank you for having us. Robert, the man, tell me what you're seeing this year. What are you excited about this year? Most excited about? Is it the Backlight Master Drive?
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
Well, first I wanted to say that 2021 was the biggest upgrade year we saw for panel advancement and processing advancement in many, many years. And I didn't think that we would get another big upgrade, but 2022 looks very strong again. And it is Sony's Backlight Master Drive and Mini LED on X95K as well as Z9K that I am very, very optimistic to see. I'm also very excited about the QD-OLED, which comes from Samsung Display, that makes the OLED panel for Sony. The QD-OLED, I'm very excited to see that. It's going to be
Size on that.
55 and 65 inch.
That's the only reason why I would say that it's kind of like
It's limited in
I'm
size.
not really
We're gonna
interested
hang
in.
back a couple of years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'll talk to you about that.
We're gonna
Yeah,
hang
yeah,
back.
Yeah.
But Robert, I mean, we are gonna see the QD OLEDs here first. Let's
Yes,
face it.
that's correct.
And I mean, and for those of you that look into the future, we will see micro LEDs here first.
that's
when they're
correct.
available.
That's
So
correct.
Stay tuned to that.
Yes.
Robert, talk to me a little bit about the Backlight Master Drive from the Z9D, Z9G. I know you have a hand actually in a lot of the feedback that goes into designing Sony's panels. What do you think about the Backlight Master Drive making a comeback? Will we see that have a tangible effect as well as mini LED?
Yeah. So Backlight Master Drive is about multiple things. It's partly about how they control the backlight. and to eliminate blooming and haloing that's very common on LCD, LED TVs. So a lot of that is about the control of it, the individual LED controls. There's a lot of extra control in a backlight master drive. So I'm very grateful and very happy to see Sony bring it back. And yes, I have, when I was at one of my engineering meetings with Sony, and I was sitting with all the development and engineers from Japan, they said, "What do you think?" I said, "Bring me back a Z9D from 2000, whatever that was. Give me the Z9D. I want that backlight master drive back again." And thank you. Take care.
Listen, you guys
Yeah.
are wonderful. I learned a lot.
Yeah. Thank you. All the best. Our friend is leaving here. Thanks so much. See you again soon.
Take care.
Thanks. You bet. So they all laughed at me and they said, "Oh, that's, from 2000 whatever." So I said, "Listen, don't call it a Z9D, call it a Z9K, but give me back that backlight master drive."
Now, I know in the Z9G, the actual backlight master drive was a few $1,000s.
Yes.
So hopefully they found a way to keep.
I think so. And we've enhanced the backlight master drive, and the panel is also a new panel. This mini LED is a different mini LED than we've ever had before. And the XR processor has been retuned specifically for the attributes of this particular panel's capabilities. So I am very, very optimistic for my first time on LCD TVs.
So LED panels, guys.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're
if
looking
you're
very
fans,
strong.
They're staying strong.
Yeah.
Robert, on the spot.
Deep blacks and very, very high peak lumens.
I want your favorite panel of all time, not this year. Is it the Curo Elite? What is your favorite panel that I know you have the Curo Elite.
I still have my
So we
Kuros,
are
yeah.
going to film that someday. I
Yeah.
wanna know on the
I have
spot.
them in my house still, yeah.
We're going to film that. We're going to do
You're good.
a
Good. Yeah.
But I want to know your favorite panel of all time right now on the spot.
Boy, that is a tough one.
Favorite of all time.
Yeah.
Dwayne, I know you have the ones in your mind, but Robert, give me your favorite panel of all time real quick.
Well, it was,
It depends on, are we speaking
Yeah.
SDR, I mean, there's so many variables.
Yeah.
I'm saying the
There's
one
of
your
all
first-
time, the GOAT.
Let's go first. True Love, your high school sweetheart.
Jesus.
First
You
True
think
Love,
it's
first
the
True
one of
Love.
the elites?
It could be
It
a
has to be the
Trinitron
Kuro,
flash.
The Kuro.
141, right, the 141.
The 141 is what I would say. But there was a better 55-inch panel than they made on the
The 101.
the 101 FD. The 101 FD was the best,
All
I
right,
think,
back up.
which is like a KRP 500M. They're the same.
Listen, you guys want to know what the heavyweight division's about? Dwayne, what was the number?
We happen to agree, by the
101
way.
FD.
101 FD. That's the world's
What
best.
is that? Rob?
Pioneer
What is that?
Kuro.
That's
What is
that's-
that?
Pioneer Kuro.
Right,
It's a
right.
You guys
plasma.
hear that?
It's a plasma, yeah.
plasma. In the chat, talk to me. You guys.
We
plasma
agree
is-
100%, by the way.
Okay.
I still own that. I still own that.
But the reason why I love it so much is Pioneer engineers were so great that all of this stuff and all the accuracy that we have today that require 50+ control sets, they did it with 2 grayscale
That's
controls.
right. That's
That's
right.
all you needed to adjust. 2
That's
grayscale
right.
controls and possibly change the gamma a little bit.
Yeah.
But everything else fell into place after you did that. I challenge manufacturers today.
You hear 'em?
Yep.
I
You hear 'em?
challenge the
Yep.
manufacturer
Yep.
today to actually make that possible again. Your 20-point, your 25-point grayscale control should be touch-up points. You should get it right with just the 2-point control set.
Thank you.
I challenge you to do that.
So we'll say, guys, with Pioneer Curo Elites plasmas, 1080p versus 1080p, no upscaling involved. They will beat anything.
That's right.
Yep, exactly.
That's
With
correct.
its native.
That's
native,
correct.
So those of you
That's
that love plasma, those of you that hate plasma, the reason why plasma is still king is with its native resolution, nothing can touch it.
And motion.
And
Motion is by far the best.
So
Right.
back size and price of the panel you fell in love with. Not adjusted price. What was it back in the day?
Back in the day, what was the 101 was like what, 5K,
It was-
500?
Yeah, 55-inch.
Right.
It was small.
Yeah, I know the,
No, they made it
I know the
65,
141
60,
right? The,
60 inch.
yeah, the 141, which is a 60-inch, that was $7,500.
Right.
Okay.
So
That's a beautiful
yeah,
TV.
it was.
I'm setting a trap right now, but go ahead. Keep talking.
So
I'm setting a trap. You guys keep talking.
so for me, I mean, the price never mattered.
Yeah.
You know, if I can afford it, and it didn't
That's
cause
right.
me to miss a bill, I'm gonna get it.
So 55 inches, give me, what was the price, would you say?
50-inch was around $5,500.
No, I think it was more.
Oh, 6,000.
Yeah,
somewhere
yeah.
in there, somewhere.
Because I
around
know I had a 42-inch Viera that was like $4,000.
I know.
there. Oh, right, exactly.
So the reason why I bring that up is because we do look at prices of OLEDs, especially. Oh man, 77-inch, it costs this. 77-inch OLEDs C8 was about 15 grand.
That's right.
Yep.
So the TVs that you're seeing behind you, yes, they are expensive. They're nowhere near as expensive as any of the audio equipment that is surrounding me, by the way. Shane will attest to that.
That's right.
So when I film TVs here, everyone says, get closer. I'm leaning against a speaker that costs more than my car to film a TV that we think is too expensive. So seeing the prices of these TVs here at, what is the Sony X92 right now?
17?
Yeah, 16,997.
16,000, and the QN90A is
15.
15. It's I'm not going to say it's a bargain, but when you have DNICE, this isn't adjusted gross or money. It's about $5,500 for a 55-inch TV
That's
back
right.
in the day.
That's right.
So things are beautiful right now. Favorite TV of all time, Robert?
Well, I would say it was the 101 FD, the Pioneer Kuro 101 FD. That was my all-time
For the both of
favorite.
you guys being leaning into, I want to get you both in here. What did you think about the handoff from Pioneer to Panasonic? I want to stay just with this quick.
Well,
I'll let you guys.
I know a little bit about that. Go ahead,
Yeah.
if you like.
But I know it was a death. I remember the Elite stand and just how prominent that was, and then they just disappeared.
Well, because I knew what was coming next, past the 101/141, it was a disappointment for me. Panasonic did continue on with the basic torch of the 101, 141, 500M, 600M, but they never exceeded it, except for size.
Right, size.
Yeah, but performance-wise, never exceeded it. So for me, it literally took until the 6 series LG OLEDs for me to upgrade.
Yes,
Yeah.
So give me years.
Yes.
What would the year gap be?
2016.
So 2000, well, from 2009 to 2016.
Right.
So DNICE
7 years.
So let's put this in perspective. This man, and with Robert, the amount of time and TVs they've calibrated and seen throughout the years, he waited how long?
7 years.
He waited 7 years. So
And now you get a new TV every year.
So
Yes.
sometimes when I see in the chat, plasma gets minimized. That's why, guys, it's legendary. Is that you have guys that are in the industry that literally saw the brightest LCDs. And I will ask you guys this, because a client of mine does have this, is Pioneer Elite had an LCD.
Well, that was Sharp.
Sharp, okay.
Yes, Sharp
So-
bought Sharp licensed the name Elite
That's
from
correct.
Pioneer.
So I saw
and
that at a
create-
client's house, and I thought I was about to film I told Robert about this when it happened. I thought I was about to film a Pioneer Plasma, and it was an LCD.
That's right.
Yep.
It was,
So
it was a
there-
fairly good one.
Yep.
Did they have a yellow pixel?
That was
Yes.
the Aquas.
Yeah.
What happened to that?
It was. It doesn't exist anymore.
But I mean, I think that's important, that the purchasing of licensing doesn't necessarily mean it. So these are the
Well,
panels.
There is a little bit more to that story.
Get in there, Rob.
So Panasonic also bought the patents from Pioneer,
Yep.
and they took 200 of their top design engineers and hired 200 engineers from Pioneer at Panasonic, and that went
Key to
into
an Audi right now.
yeah, that went into the development of their LCD Elite, which was a very nice LCD
Yeah.
full array local dim
Oh, yeah.
TV, and it was a good size, screen size.
The only issue I had with that LCD is its color accuracy.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, it could not do cyan correct.
right, right.
You know, watching Tron, what was it, Tron Legacy at that
Yeah.
point. You know, it's supposed to be neon teal look.
Yep.
It was neon blue.
Yeah.
Changed the entire mood of the whole movie itself.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
You cannot do that. And that was post-calibration.
Yeah.
You just can't do that.
So when I spoke about 2021 being the best year in many, many years that we've seen
I was
of
about that.
advancements
Yep.
in both the panel and the processing, I was specifically thinking in my mind of Sony's A90J Master Series.
Yep.
That's the one that stands out as being an amazing advancement in technology.
Now, the A90J is carrying over. A question I
Yes,
get
it
a
is.
lot with the A90J is, I believe, the processor is being retooled and
Yes.
updated. That can be done online. So A90Js will be current.
Not all of the updates, right. Some of the updates will follow through, but not all can.
So when we go into so delineation between the A90J from 2021, and if someone purchases it, it's not going to be like the A9G. We are going to see a change in the processor at all.
No, you're not going to see a change in the
So
process.
it does truly carry over.
Right. Well, yes and no. What you will see, and you would have seen this in the A9G series also, is after a certain point in time in the manufacturing year, you're going to start seeing 2022 modules inside of that actual series.
Yes.
So with that module, you'll get additional, boards and, behind the module that upgraded also. But it will still perform, or it should perform, equally or slightly better than, the 2021 module A90Js.
Okay, so that's not something that our buyers should be conscious of, or is it
In general, no.
in general? So that's something that I know you guys are very concerned about purchasing. It's going to be very hard to delineate them. So you're hearing it from Dewayne and Robert. That's not going to be a big issue. A90J is going to be basically an A90J.
That's correct.
Exactly.
Do you actually see, both of you, if you have the time, do you see LG? LG, in my opinion, had caught up with the CX to the A9J, AH at that time, and then the XR was a big jump. Do you see LG catching up this year, again, processing-wise?
I'm going to reserve my actual answer to that.
Why reserve? No reserve on me.
No, no, because for me, when it comes to LG, I know that their engineer potential. I'm tired of them just catching up to Sony.
I hear
Do
you.
something that is on their own that's basically industry changing or industry leading. Stop being a follower and become a leader,
Yep, I got you.
period. So for me, am I hoping that they catch up? I don't care if they catch up. Show me where they can do something better.
Okay. I will say
Yeah.
that, I will say as a fan, they are annihilating the world with gaming. So
Yes,
Of course,
indeed,
yeah, and I
absolutely.
applaud them for
that's
that.
where
Yeah,
they're going to lead.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
And I think that they're taking the lead on that, and I applaud them for it because I think personally Sony dropped the ball on that one. Big
Absolutely.
time.
They really did. I'm
Big
not-
time.
They really did. So I also want to say, I guess they're having a hard time hearing me, but stay with the mic. No, you stay with the mic, Robert. We're talking about going forward, QD-OLEDs. What are you seeing, Robert, this year with releases? Do you think we're going to have the same constraints as last year? Do you think we'll see more displays this year on time? What do you think about what we see coming this year?
Well, if you're referring to QD-OLED, there will be a constrained supply for quite a while.
In general models. I mean,
In
I know we
general,
have- who do we have coming first?
it's-
and what do you think is coming
Yeah.
first?
Well, I think LG and Samsung will be the first. The very, very, very end of March to early April is when we'll start seeing some of the models, particularly things like the C2 and the smaller screen sizes,
Where will we see them, Robert?
at Value Electronics, right here.
And we're on YouTube, Shane. Where
Yes.
will we see them? We will see them on Spare Change and
Yes,
Whisper Status. We will have them, and the different sizes will be.
Yes,
They will be here. So yeah, continue. You said
That's great.
LG, Samsung, and then we're
that's
gonna
right.
be following Sony.
On the A95K, which is the first Samsung QD-OLED television to be released, it'll be Sony, and it'll be out the week of April 24th at Value Electronics. We'll be the first or one of the first dealers with them. We are doing a promotion for YouTube celebrity viewers and members that if you place a pre-order with us, there's no deposit, no, you don't pay anything until you say you want to take it and it's ready to ship. And then we also gift you, you just say you saw us on this channel, you get a 10% credit towards anything you want to buy from Sony.
Excellent.
So if it's $4,000 for a 65-inch, I owe you $400. Pick out some Bluetooth headphones.
Oh, yeah, there's lots of
Pick out the wall mounts and all the Sony great accessories that they have. They have beautiful HTA9 audio system. Just take $400 right off, and we'll add those products to your order.
So while we're talking about QD-OLED, I want also Dwayne's thought on
Sure.
this, and Robert as well. Their Samsung panels. I personally think Samsung, it's amazing how they're innovating. They're going to come in and steal the OLED market.
Yeah.
But again, delineation between Sony's will have Dolby Vision. Is that important? I'll start with you, Dwayne. Is that important to you? Is that going to be a misstep for them, for QD-OLEDs, them to not have They're going to be having their own panels next year. We know they're not coming this year. They may.
I think we can say this together in stereo.
Well, no.
Is that going to be a major disadvantage, Dwayne? That they, even though they are the innovators, they're not going to have Dolby Vision. I want you to go and just tell me what.
For me, I personally, I don't see it. I can see the marketing engine or the marketing prowess of Dolby and how they have impacted the consumer, and saying that the consumers say, yes, it's going to be a huge disadvantage to Samsung and their QD-OLED models compared to the Sonys. However, when you start getting into the weed of Dolby Vision, I would say it's a non-issue, and that's because of Dolby itself. I don't have any problems with the manufacturers because I know their pains and struggles with Dolby. I think it's just Dolby itself. So for me, if the Samsungs don't have Dolby, I'll deal with HDR10 and HDR10 Plus.
Okay, that's what I want to hear.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, I guess I'm sorry to say it's very, very rare for me to ever disagree even slightly. But I'm a big fan of Dolby Vision. Yeah, I am a big fan of Dolby Vision, and I know that they can do their own metadata frame by frame, but I don't think it's quite the same as sending the data right from the disk that was mastered with the metadata of peak lumens on each frame. So I like that feature in Dolby
No,
Vision,
I
which is
agree.
exclusive to Dolby
No,
Vision.
no, HDR10 Plus can do the same thing.
Well, but
Now-
nobody has content in HDR10
Right,
Plus.
but but here's my issue.
Hold on, Dwayne. I gotta tell you, watching these guys talk, like, I wish you. Can you turn the camera? You boys blushing. Watching these guys actually talk is awesome. So I'm just gonna let you know. You don't want everybody to agree.
Yeah, well, we agree a lot
more than we
disagree.
But
This is nothing.
This is a good disagreement, but I can
yeah.
explain why I don't really care.
he's about to. But I want you guys to understand in the comments. There's a difference between argument and discussion. They're actually the same, but discussion. This is why we do what we do. Just letting you know. This is not just people mad and yelling. This is. I love hearing these are the finer points that we're really talking about here. Go ahead.
So for me, it's on paper. I 100% agree
Yeah,
with you. On paper.
Okay.
The implementation that's currently out there is the problem. Dolby Vision is not what it is in implementation than what it is on paper.
Is that a nits thing? We need the
We're-
4,000 nits or no?
No, it has nothing to do with the nits. It has everything to do with color accuracy. It has everything to do with tone mapping. It has everything to do with the profiles that they have, the multiple profiles for the actual content producers and the providers. It's Dolby itself and how they basically created this black box, and it's more so their interaction with fixing bugs or just making a better world altogether, from content creation to consumer, making everything be in line because of this black box, that umbrella that they have over Dolby Vision itself. That's right. It's an issue where it's not as accurate as HDR. So in that regards, that's why for me, I can pass on Dolby Vision. But if Dolby was in production as it was on paper and in the books, we're 100% in agreement. But it's not, and that's my issue right now. And it's not a manufacturer problem. It's not Samsung's, or it's not Samsung. It's not Sony, LG, or any other the manufacturers that actually have TVs that support Dolby Vision. It's Dolby.
Yep. I will say that for me, it's with Dolby Vision gaming. I don't love the way it looks.
Right.
I do get into, even with VRR and things of that nature, it's that feeling of you're better off having it than not. But to your point, Dwayne, I know for me, even with VRR and things that we've talked about, I'm no longer going for features. I'm going for what I see.
Right.
So Robert, quickly, because I know we talk about, choosing VRR on, say, LG. I don't use it.
Right. Yeah, a lot of
So-
people don't use it because of
There's VSync in gaming.
right. It
Oh, yeah.
causes more issues than it actually helps the actual
Yeah.
Well, we know
experience.
feature set, it's not just bragging rights, but saying, hey, I want this or I want that. So I know this year for me, I'm not necessarily going for the next LG. It may be a Z9K. It will be whichever one looks best in content. So I think that's important to, Dolby Vision may not be the end all be all just to put it in the bank and say it's there. It's,
Right.
what do you see on screen? And,
Right.
and I think that's important. So Robert, we're gonna finish up here. I do wanna, what are we expecting to see from you this year, even, regards, again, me and Shane collaborating more and more, we're going to be here much more often.
Good.
There's obvious reasons why we couldn't be here last year. I am taking YouTube much more serious myself.
Good.
We have a great opportunity to bring you every major panel that's coming out this year from the top 3 manufacturers, short throw projectors from Hisense. Having Dewayne here is an amazing asset as well. But Shane and I are looking to bring you, spare change. Please like and subscribe to his channel as well. We're not playing around this year.
Very
And
nice.
I'm very excited. Robert, what do you expect to see this year from, what do you want to see? Delivering, you want to see more TV shootouts? What would you like to see yourself?
Well, if we're talking about features and performance, particularly from the brands, I would like to see an upgrade in somewhere needed in quality control so we can be more dependent upon out of the box.
More consistency.
More consistency, that's right, from panel to panel. I see some brands, I won't mention any names, that, one day they look great, the next day they changed panel brands, and they got a different panel in there. So, I want to see more consistency and quality control. I have asked repeatedly, and I will never stop asking on the flagship models to please put 3D back on the televisions. Well, I asked for it.
Bravo!
I asked.
Robert,
I asked.
Robert, please, let's just say that
Robert, is it going to come back when Avatar 2 comes out?
Wouldn't that be a good timing?
Going to come out.
Wouldn't that be great timing?
So,
Yeah.
Robert, we'll say to Robert, can
I ask for it all the time.
you bring the camera here for 1 second? Robert,
Robert's going to take credit for it when Jim Cameron makes it happen.
so Robert, I will say that, Shane, real quick. Robert and I talked about the Z9G. For those of you I know that don't love this, he does not, or was against the X-wide viewing angle.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And Dwayne, we talk about contrast ratio
Yeah.
being king if you
Yeah.
love plasma.
Yeah.
But for those of you that don't realize, the percentage of you that focus on this, we are minority.
Right.
The people in these focus groups do say, I want to be able to be in my kitchen and watch TV. These TVs are 100 inches. I don't need an X-wide viewing angle. Let's get 3D back. Right?
Yep.
Let's
Yep.
get rid of the X-wide viewing angle,
Yep.
Sony, all you guys, and stop listening to...
Now's the time because I'm behind the camera. Now the TV is so bright. Now it makes sense
Yes.
for 3D to come back.
Yes.
The TVs are so bright.
Yes.
3D would
They
be
are, it's
more relevant.
time. We can have the resolution in both
Yes.
eyes.
And I don't want the active, I want the passive glasses. Yeah. And they are so bright, you're exactly right, that you can really get a great 3D experience now, yeah. Yeah, so just put it into the flagship model. Those that want it will step up. And any brand that takes my good advice and does that would differentiate themselves from everybody else.
They're going to win every future TV shootout.
They definitely will. Closing thoughts, gentlemen.
This was fun.
Yeah.
I'm taking one of these TVs home with me tonight on the plane.
You need a cargo plane by yourself.
That's okay.
Right on the
I'll make sure it gets on. But no, these are two great displays. They calibrated beautifully. Again, I've said my piece on both of them. I'm really splitting hairs between the two, of course, but there really wasn't any significant differences between the two outside of what we pointed out. So either one of the displays, someone will be happy with. I don't see why one would be better than the other overall in someone else's eyes. I understand basically why someone would choose one or the other.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Robert?
Well, that was beautifully said again, and I don't think you left much for me to add to that. Thank you. So this is a great year again, and this is a great time to be considering a new TV at any size, especially if you wanted to get one of these ultra-large screens. It's so fun and it's so immersive. You really feel like when we watch action adventure movies, we feel like we're in the movie.
You got the immersion now.
We feel like we're in the movie. It's that exciting.
Nearly as much as a projection.
It's a projection.
Right.
Let's have this conversation in another year.
Yeah. Well, there is something special about having the lights out, being in a dark room, watching a reflected image. It's more cinematic. There is something to be said about this.
Here's the
Less
thing.
eye fatigue is true.
Right, but here's the funny thing. Well, here's the great thing about this. I can make this look like a front projector. I can't make a front projector look like this.
Well, there's a good point.
Touche.
There's a good point.
You do the
But you're
gauntlet.
really dropping down brightness on the direct view.
Yes.
I can make this look
Yeah.
like a front.
Let
I
me
can
just
make
show
this
you
look
how-
like a front
But
projector.
when you drop down that brightness
Oh,
on
I
the
don't have
great
to
view,
drop down the brightness. I don't have to drop down the brightness and make this look like
when you
a
drop
front
down
projector.
contrast.
Ah, see.
I want you to see Shane's aggressive stance here. That's his aggressive stance. His legs are crossed. He's ready to talk.
No, but seriously, no. I can make this one look comparable to a front projector.
When he puts a piece of wax paper over that, then it'll look more like a projector.
It's all in the skill of a calibrator.
Robert, anything you'd like to say in closing?
Well, thank everybody for joining us today. It's a lot of fun doing these things. I look forward to the new agenda of seeing you a lot more often as the new TVs start to come out. And remember to please reference that you found us this way so that we can give you the VIP treatment that you well deserve.
Otherwise, you're paying full price.
That's right.
I'll take this.
Thank you.
You turn it towards me, Scorsese. That's even not me. All right, guys, in closing, it's been a few hours. You got me? So I am very grateful to both Spare Change for us collaborating. We are very good friends. I do believe YouTubers collaborating versus fighting is important. And him and I are doing a lot more work. Not him and I fighting, but just being more positive on this platform to me is super important. Also to Dewayne Davis, DNICE, to, what are you doing? Oh, Dewayne DNICE. To meet him and to spend time with him is a real treat for me. You guys have said that I'm being a fan in the comments. Absolutely. I've heard of this man through the years in forums. It was always about get your calibration done by DNICE. I'm like, who the hell is like DNICE the rapper? Because I'm old enough to know who that is. I know he may be, but to be able to actually spend time with him, and I know you guys are jealous for this one reason. To be able to sit here and talk as casually as we are with these guys is it is loose. It is fun, but it's like being with athletes in sports and being able to watch these guys. It really is a real treat for me. Being connected with Value Electronics, this is a true friendship. They are a family business. I adore his family, very close to his family. He means it from his heart. He's a very passionate man. This is not a retailer. If the business part was just left up to him, he'd be in trouble. Wendy is, but he is very passionate and he knows and he loves what he does. So I'm very grateful to have Robert and Dewayne as friends. We're going to bring you all kinds of content this year. Again, the major panels, everything we'll be showing you, and we're looking at a studio space. We'll be able to bring you a lot more content, and a lot of that's thanks to this man over here. And I want to say thank you to all you guys. Spare Change, jump in the frame. You jump in the frame? I don't know, he's doing some wrap-up Scorsese stuff. But special thank you to Robert Zohn at Value Electronics. Please check the description for all their store information. Email them, call them, let them know that Brian at Whisper Status 74 or Shane from Spare Change sent you. Also check the description. Once this becomes a video, I'll put all of Dewayne Davis's information below. He does calibration as well, and you can also see him directly there. Gentlemen, thank you so much. I'll turn this camera over to you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Have a great night. Take care.